Hello everyone. Today's case is yet another missing and murdered Indigenous woman case, but it's one that has elements of quite a few cases that we've recently been covering. And by the end of the video, I want you to ask yourself and comment down below, do you think this could be someone closer to home that it's involved, or do you think it's a complete stranger? Sara Graham was born on April 1st of 1996. She was an Indigenous woman from the Lumbee tribe, however she didn't grow up in the area. Growing up, Sara was described as shy, kind, and sweet. Her parents separated when she was young, so Sara was raised along with her brother by her single mother in Texas. However, after graduating high school in 2014, Sara decided to move to North Carolina to live with her father, stepmother Connie, and her stepbrother in Fairmont, North Carolina, a small town 45 minutes south of Fayetteville near the South Carolina border. Her father, Hubert Graham, was a sergeant with the local Robeson County Sheriff's Office, and Connie worked there as a sheriff's deputy. And overall, Sara's move to North Carolina seemed like a positive one. She seemed happy overall, she was making new friends, and she'd recently gotten a job at Walmart at a town not far away. According to Hubert, the night before Sara's disappearance, they spent the evening watching television together. Around 6:30 a.m. on February 4th of 2015, Sara left her family home on Centerville Church Road near Fairmont and headed to work at a Walmart in Pembroke, which is around a 20-minute drive north. Her shift started at 7 a.m. However, Sara would never make it to work despite being a reliable worker. Around 6 hours later at 12:15 p.m., police would receive a phone call that a vehicle was spotted abandoned in a wheat field, and the caller said they didn't see anyone around the vehicle. A white Chevy Astro van would be found in a field near McDonald Road and Chicken Road, abandoned very close to the woods. The van was said to have been found locked, with no signs of a struggle, no signs of a crash, no signs of blood, or any obvious signs that something bad had happened. It looked as if the van had simply just pulled up there. Someone got out, locked the van, and walked away. Witnesses would report seeing the van sitting there as early as 6:45 a.m. And when police would run the license plate on this van, it would come back as belonging to Hubert Graham. It would turn out that Hubert had been letting his daughter his van so that she could get to and from work, since she was new to the area, she didn't have her own vehicle yet. She had just started this job pretty recently. But the big question was, where was Sara? Now, I couldn't find the exact location where on Centerville Church Road that Sara's father's home was, but I did see reported that her home was around 4 miles away from where the van was found. So it would generally be, as you can see here on Google Maps, in this area, assumingly then. So if we combine all this information together, if Sara left her home, drove to work, well, she could have technically gone in that direction towards where the van was found. But then we have to factor in she left at 6:30 and the van was first spotted at 6:45 a.m. That's a 15-minute window for her to leave home, drive over there to that intersection area, and then something bad to happen. But we'll get back to that. When police ended up figuring out that this van belonged to Hubert Graham, they ended up contacting him to let him know, like, hey dude, your van's sitting in a field here, what's going on? That's when the family would end up telling police that Sara was supposed to have been driving that van that morning to work. And as far as they knew, she had been at work all day. So this is when all the dots would start connecting and everyone realized that Sara was actually missing and she was not at work. And realizing Sara was missing, the police actually came in droves, it seemed. The FBI even showed up, which is actually where I found Sara's case, on the FBI's missing persons website. And it seems like a pretty decent investigation happened. And I want to say her father and stepmother working with the police department probably helped in this matter. Because we see way too many times where someone goes missing and nothing happens for quite a long time, especially considering she was technically an adult. But the FBI showed up, they brought helicopters to fly over the forested areas near where the van was found. A command post would be set up. But in the end, nothing was found in the fields or the surrounding area where the van was found. As I said, there was no signs of struggle whatsoever. But right away, unlike most cases, the police didn't seem to think that Sara had ran away, which is a breath of fresh air. From all accounts, she was a great young woman. She was always messaging with her friends, she never got into any trouble. And from all accounts, she was doing very well at her father's home. There was never mention of any arguments or disagreements or just any kind of tension within the home whatsoever. There was also nothing suspicious found when police ended up doing a search of Sara's online presence and conversations. Hubert saying, and I quote, "I'm still lost. I just don't know how to deal with this situation. I can't even describe it. It's kind of like a daze. Days go by, and you're constantly questioning and asking, is there anything else I can do? I know I'm not going to be able to control my emotions in this situation. It's hard to do this line of work with emotions tied to it because eventually it's going to get the best of you. Just to hear that she's okay would be the greatest news I could ever get." End quote. 6 weeks after Sara's disappearance, her stepmother Connie was fired from her position at the sheriff's office after 23 years of service. Authorities would eventually come forward and say that Connie had been fired due to personal matters. And there's been a lot of conversation around what that could mean, why she was fired, but in the end, we truly don't know why she was fired. We do know, however, that not long after Connie was fired, Hubert would resign and begin working in another department. He'd then eventually become chief of the Roland Police Department. But as time passed, no answers were coming for what happened to Sara. However, things would begin to get scarier and scarier in the area, because in 2017, multiple women would begin turning up dead within blocks of each other near the town of Lumberton. 2 of these women also being from the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. Rhonda Jones's body would be found upside down and naked inside of a trash can on East 5th Street in Lumberton on April 18th of 2017. The body of 32-year-old Christina Kristen Bennett was found, and it was ruled she was murdered inside of her residence on Peachtree Street in Lumberton on April 18th, 2017, very close to where Rhonda Jones's body had been found. So both those bodies were found on the same day, very close in proximity to each other. The body of 28-year-old Megan Oxendine was found behind a vacant home on East 8th Street in Lumberton on June 3rd of 2017, 2 blocks from where Jones and Bennett's bodies were found. And then we have 41-year-old Cynthia Jacobs, who is still missing and was last seen on July 17th of 2017 in Lumberton, North Carolina. The following year in 2018, 46-year-old Katrina Locklear's body was found at the end of a dirt road in Pembroke. It was reported that she was SA'd and stabbed 14 times. So it is very strange that so many women's bodies were being discovered or women were going missing within this county, within a very small span of time, which led a lot of people to think that there may be a serial killer in the area. However, again, years would pass and nothing would come of what happened to Sara Graham. But things would take a turn in June of 2023. Just a year ago as I'm filming this video. Local police, along with the FBI, would spend several hours searching Hubert Graham's home on Centerville Church Road near Fairmont, the last place that Sara Graham was ever thought to have been seen alive. This is when police would finally come out and say that they could not confirm that Sara had actually left her home that morning to go to work whatsoever. And they would also say that they believe people closest to her were holding on to some very important information and leaving out vital details. However, they did say that they were being cooperative. But what does that say to you? This is what the FBI would end up saying in a video.
Everything we've learned about Sara tells us that she did not take off on her own. She's responsible. She had a job at Walmart and was considered a dependable employee. Sara was making friends and was happy with her new life in North Carolina. While most of the people we have interviewed have been cooperative, we believe someone very close to her isn't telling us everything they know. We have uncovered a lot of evidence, but we still need that missing piece to bring Sara home.
Agents were spotted leaving the home, carrying bagged items, rolls of carpet. There was also this photo of a vehicle on a tow truck, so I'm curious if it was also taken as evidence. Canines were also brought in and used in the search. Sheriff Watkins added that they did uncover a lot of evidence, but that they still needed more to bring Sara home, which says a lot to me, that police truly think that something happened to Sara within her home and that she didn't leave for work that morning. But they're also kind of saying that they don't have evidence to prove either way at this point. However, a year ago when they did search your family's home, they seem to have found a lot of evidence, but it's been a year now and I haven't seen any updates on that. However, Hubert would turn around and say that he didn't feel like the FBI was treating him like the father of a missing child. And I think that's because the police think he may have done something. But Hubert would end up saying, and I quote, "I need to be treated like a parent because it's still my daughter. She's still my daughter no matter what the situation is. I got contacted by the FBI. They asked me, did Sara have braces? There's this one time they found skeletal remains somewhere up near St. Paul's. They found a skull. I said, yes, she had braces. And that was a whole conversation. I never got a call back saying no, it wasn't her, anything like that." End quote. Now here's the thing. Hubert is in one hand saying he's not being treated like a parent of a missing child, and then at the same time he's also an officer, so I see how there's a mix of emotions here in the situation as a whole. However, it does seem like the FBI and the police are looking into him and possibly his wife as to have done something to Sara without even saying it directly. I mean, I think they pretty much said it when they're literally searching his house with luminol and saying they found evidence in there and towing vehicles and there's a whole thing there, you know? But at the same time, they're not outwardly saying we think they did something. They're saying they think people closer to her aren't saying things they need to that could bring Sara home. But then at the same time, Hubert's getting mad because, I mean, if he is innocent, that's a whole nother thing. But also he's saying yeah, they're asking me questions about her, but they're not giving me all the answers afterwards. Well, it's well, read the room. At the same time, though, if he is completely innocent, it's an awful way to treat a parent of a missing child. It truly is. But it seems there's something going on here. There's a bit of a mess. Now, as I said, there was a body found that had braces. Sara had braces. However, it would turn out that that body was not Sara's. On top of that, it is interesting to me that it took them about 7-ish years to search the family home. That's something that's odd to me. It took them so long to do that. You'd think they would have done that sooner on. At the same time, though, he was an officer and so was Connie. They both worked at the police department, so maybe they wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. But then when Sara never came home and they couldn't find anything to determine that she even left the home, that's when they're like, okay, we need to switch gears here and look more into this lead. But that's honestly why I think Sara's case hasn't been solved yet, because there truly is no evidence that Sara left the home, but then at the same time, there was no evidence or motive for her father and stepmother to have done something to her, it seems. From all accounts, they were a happy family. Now, people can put out one image and something completely other can be happening, but you'd think that Sara would have said something to someone. She would have maybe called her mom or texted her mom or a friend or complained to someone about something bad happening or a fight or an argument or something. But I want to guess that she didn't, or else police would have said something. They said they went through all her social media and conversations and stuff and nothing stood out to them. But at the same time, it just doesn't make sense to me either that she would have vanished so quickly after leaving the home in this way. Unless it truly is something like the Breonna Maitland case that I just covered, where someone was laying in wait and possibly blocked the road and then, she got out of the vehicle or had to stop the vehicle. Because the whole point with these cases that makes it so difficult to try to understand is, how does someone stop a moving vehicle? How does a perpetrator stop someone, especially when it seems there was no damage to the vehicle whatsoever and no sign of struggle? Because on top of that, from all accounts, Sara had no enemies. She was an extremely sweet person. But if it truly wasn't someone close to home, could she have had a stalker? She had just recently started working at Walmart not too long ago. Could someone who had been at Walmart seen her, decided she would be an easy target, and began stalking her? They could have learned her routines, followed her home one day, knew she lived in a quite rural area, that, the route she drove home was down some quite rural roads. And then they decided that morning that they were going to act on their impulses. Could they have been hiding inside of her vehicle somehow and ambushed her, or been waiting at that corner and somehow gotten her to stop? But then we have to look at the situation as a whole, because that would seem extremely risky to me, because of the fact that she left the home allegedly at 6:30 a.m. and then the vehicle was spotted in the field already by 6:45. 15 minutes is all that this perpetrator would have had from the time that Sara left her home to when the vehicle was spotted. So they would have had to gotten her to stop the vehicle, gotten her out somehow without causing a struggle or any evidence to be left. If it was only a single person, they then would have had to put them in their vehicle, restrain her somehow so she couldn't get away, and then get into her vehicle, drive it into the field far out by the woods, get out, walk back to their vehicle, and then drive off. That just seems like a lot to happen within less than 15 minutes, because we have to consider she had to drive to that area first, and then they had to do all of that, and then they had to drive away before the next person drove by. All of that would have had to happen so perfectly for no one to have witnessed that. In my opinion, that's just a lot to have happen in 15 minutes or way less with no one seeing it. And nothing, happening to throw that person off, like Sara running off or trying to get away or fighting or, scratching them or leaving blood or something, you know what I mean? That also makes me wonder, were there any other sets of tire tracks into the field or any other footprints in or out of the field? That's something I'm very curious about, but you think if that was found, police would have said something by now. Because in the grand scheme of it, they seem to be pretty open with the information in this case. I guess that is, unless there was more than one person that kidnapped her, then they could have just pulled her into the car, one person drove it, they got in and drove off together. But I think the only alternative truly is that something happened to Sara before she even left home that morning, and she never actually did leave for work that morning. And then someone she knew placed the van there to make it seem like she was kidnapped or ran off or something, which seems to more so be what the FBI and the police have been insinuating. But what I want to know is what you think. I asked at the beginning of the video, by the end of it here, where you think this could have went. Because there seems to, in my opinion, only be two possibilities. If you can think of other possibilities with the information we have, let's chat about it down below. But those are the only two I truly see. But at the same time, what would the motive be for her stepmother and her father to have done something to her? That's the hard part here, because we don't know of any motive. Let's take one more good look at Sara, because there is always a chance that she is somewhere out there, or someone may have spotted her on surveillance camera or something. Sara is of Native American descent, described as having short, dark brown hair, brown eyes, and standing 5 foot 4 inches tall and around 160 pounds. Sarah's ears are pierced and she had braces on her teeth at the time of her disappearance. Sara would be around 28 years old now, and this is an age progression photo depicting how she may look. The FBI is currently offering a $5,000 reward for any information leading to Sara being found. If you have any information on what happened to Sara, if you know something, please say something. I'll have the contact information for the authorities below. With that, I've kind of already said my final words of how I feel about this. It's a very strange one. Again, not a lot of people are talking about it, despite it happening about 8 years ago, 9 years ago now. And, Sara still hasn't been found. What happened to her? What truly happened is the mystery here. But this is honestly truly a scary one, because in both, alternate theories that I can think of, one, someone may have been stalking her or something like that. That is truly scary, that this poor girl was just going to work, just trying to start a life for herself in a new state. And then something like that could have happened. On top of that, there may have been a serial killer in the area. That's also equally as scary. But then we have the other theory of someone closest to you deciding to do something to you, even though there's no tension or anything going on between you. That is a scarier thing in itself, because that's someone that you're supposed to be able to trust, But either way, Sara's still missing. Police have not come out and said whether or not they have, specific people of interest at this moment that they think definitely did it, but I think they're saying things without saying them. I'll be down in the comment section chatting with you all. If you have any cases you want me to look into and cover, let me know down below as well, and I will add them to my list if there is enough information that I can do a video on it. As always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.